38 days until the NFL season is underway. Not that that matters right now because we are probably releasing this podcast on a different day than we're recording it. But right now, as I'm sat here, it is 38 days until the NFL season. I'm just excited, Tom. We're counting down every single second.
Yeah, I'm so hyped. I'm looking forward to the NFL season more than you can believe. And I've been watching Quarterback season 2 on Netflix. Have you been seeing it?
I haven't yet. I like to just sit down with a night and just binge it.
Yeah, I get that completely. I mean, I'm 5 episodes in out of the 7. It's been really good so far, but just watching clips from last season with Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and also Kirk Cousins, albeit he's not really a QB this year, it's kind of just getting me more and more into it. We've got our fantasy leagues. We've already had one draft with our fantasy leagues. We've got another draft in a league between us as well coming up soon. And the listener league is close. We only need 4 spots to fill.
4 spots, and let's do 2 today.
Let's
do 2, like right now. So we added 2 last week. Connor Stroud was one of them, and I've completely forgotten who the other one was, but it's on my list. I apologise to whoever that person was, but I'm more enamoured by the fact that we had a 49ers fan in the draft. But we are looking forward to adding the next. The runners for the next spot, Mike Bland, RJ Wilson, Toby Darby, Paul Gianna Andrea, Havoc. I apologise, Havoc. I don't know. It's just the name. Coffee Black. Wouldn't recommend it. Put some milk and sugar in there. And Scott Crowley, who is also in here. We've got the wheel again. We will spin the first time now. I never really know what to say when the wheel's spinning.
Yeah, it takes quite a long time as well. But to be fair, hold on, wait, don't release it yet. 2 people get spots here out of the 7. There is a very good chance that if your name was just read out, you're in the listener league. Drum roll.
Would you rate your drum roll this week?
It was pretty poor. It wasn't very lengthy this week, so I'll give it a 6.
Yeah, RJ gave you a 7 last week. That's like a 4 this week. Scott Crowley, welcome to the listener league. Scott Crowley is in. So Scott Crowley gets the first spot in the listener league. He will be removed, and we will do the spin once again. Who are you cheering for? Anyone in particular?
You know what? I'll cheer for the people that comment every single week because there is some dedication there from a few of the names. So hopefully one of those people can get this final spot.
There is. RJ is desperate to be in the league, as are 1 or 2 others. But I don't know if I'm happy about this one. We're filling up the NFC West because Mike Bland is in. Now, the problem with this is that Mike Bland is very good at fantasy football.
Is he?
Story, Mike Bland, once upon a time, was so anti-NFL. Hated it. I once put a tweet up after... It was a really good Super Bowl. Can't remember which one it was. And I said, if you've been to sleep for that and you've missed it, I cannot believe you're wasting your time. And he goes, no, I was asleep. I had a great time. Didn't waste any time whatsoever. And now, literally, his entire life is about NFL. He even runs his own podcast about fantasy football. So he's seen the light.
Pressure's on for us then this year.
Exactly. Mike is very good at fantasy football. Mike, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the listener league. Scott Crowley, welcome to the listener league. We've got 2 more spots left to give on the podcast. They will be given out. They'll be set up anyway in this podcast. Again, same rules as always. Leave a comment down below. Leave a prediction for the season coming up, and that gets you automatic entry into the ballot anyway for the Listener League podcast. But let's go straight into the things. We're looking at the NFC East, and we're going to start off by putting a bit of respect on the reigning champions of last year, because the Philadelphia Eagles, they were very good.
Yeah, if you haven't seen any of these podcasts before, we kind of just assess all of the teams in each division and then at the end provide a bet. So wait until the end if you're a punter and you're looking for where to put your money and hopefully find a winner. But if you're a fan of one of these teams, we are going to give a bit of an overround towards what we're expecting this season. Positive or negative, we'll see. I suppose with the Eagles, you can only be positive.
One sec. Can everyone subscribe? Just do that. Just do the subscribe. Leave a comment. Do all that stuff. You know what I want you to do right now. Just subscribe, do the bell, click Tom's thing down in the bottom right hand corner where it says YouTube. That helps you add it. We've got loads of stuff. Just do all that. I'm just going to fill you in, Tom, on a few Eagles off-season moves. And honestly, there weren't many. There were no moves. They were just bringing guys back in. They re-signed Zach Bourne. They re-signed Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson. They re-signed Saquon Barkley to a new deal as well. not much has really changed. They brought in a few other additional pieces, but I think last year their Super Bowl run revolved largely around drafting incredibly well in 2024 when they got Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. To have two young stud cornerbacks like that is a big factor.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, with a Super Bowl winning team, why would you try and fix something that isn't already broken? Last year, they proved they were the best team in the NFL. So you just re sign the players and hope that they can do it again. The Eagles are electric on offense, aren't they? Jalen Hurts, dual purpose quarterback, very good in the pocket nowadays. AJ Brown, elite wide receiver. Saquon Barkley, probably the best running back in the league, albeit Bijan and a couple of others will definitely disagree with that. Jameer Gibbs being another one. Then they've got a fantastic O line, an unbelievable O line. Then they've got a good defensive kind of front with the D line there and the edge rushers. The linebackers are solid. Zach Bourne is probably one of the most unheralded players in the league. He is fantastic. And that safety and corner combo is just electric. I love Cooper DeJean. I think he's fantastic. Quinion Mitchell last year proved that he can cover absolutely anyone in the league. And Kelly Ringo as well. Don't sleep on this guy. He's a second-year player out of Georgia. I think he's going to take a step forward. The Eagles are going to be very tough to beat this season. The one negative I have against the Eagles is that there isn't much depth at these positions. For all that their starters are amazing, their backups are just not very good. If you look at Jalen Hurts, if he goes out injured, not only do you potentially lose the tush push and other key roles, including the run option, etc., but then you've got Tanner McKee in a backup, and we don't know too much about Tanner. Then it's DTR as the third string. Like, they're going to suffer if Jalen misses games. The same can be said at running back. If Saquon's out, you've got AJ Dillon or Will Shipley. Now, Will Shipley could be pretty useful. AJ is okay at the Packers. He was no better than that. So it's a big drop off. Wide receiver, get rid of AJ Brown. Devontae Smith, okay, he's decent, but he's injury prone. Then you're looking at Jahan Dotson, Terrace Mitchell. I mean, Terrace Marshall, players that just wouldn't really be necessarily seen as guys that can step into that line. And the same with the O-line, the D-line, and the corners. There's not much depth there. So they need to remain healthy, but if they do, they've got a great chance of winning this division again.
Yeah, massively so. I think they're a well-coached team as well. And as much as I don't really love Nick Sirianni, I don't think anyone from any other team likes Nick Sirianni all that much. He's very much a guy, if he's on your side, you love him. But if you're against him, God, he's an annoying person to look at. But he's a very good football coach. The line for regular season wins is 11.5. I mean, they ought to go over that.
Yeah, I think the over seems very plausible there, providing they stay healthy. That is the key. They're just going to win all close games because they're so good at running the ball. And when they're in the lead, they seem to just add points on points on points. So they are hard to beat. The only way you can beat them is, one, if they're not healthy, or two, if you start extremely strong against them and force Jalen Hurts to push the ball downfield. Because, as I say, if you take AJ Brown out of things, they don't have that many deep threats.
No. But the Eagles are a very well-rounded team. However, one team that might be able to beat them is the Commanders this year because they took a big step forward last season. And they've added assets this year. They traded for Deebo Samuel. They traded for Laramie Tunsil to give Jaden Daniels a bit more protection. They re-signed Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner. They've signed Javon Kinlaw and Von Miller on defense just to try and bolster that side of things. One big concern at the moment, though, Tom, is that Terry McLaurin's holding out for a contract. And this seems to be quite a serious thing. He doesn't seem too happy, but it's one of the annoying things. I know that they're going to pay Terry McLaurin. You know they're going to pay Terry McLaurin. They know they're going to pay Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin knows that they're going to pay Terry McLaurin. Just pay the guy. Get him practicing, get him amongst everyone else. It just hurts the team long run.
Yeah, and last year he was the comfort blanket for Jaden Daniels, and he had a great season, McLaurin. So once they pay him, it'll be absolutely fine. And this team is ready to make another run. The problem I have is, firstly, Jaden Daniels is an excellent quarterback. He's got great legs, really good arm, makes good decisions, which is key to any young QB. The negative is that we've seen over the last however many years, there is a trend that in the sophomore season, the second season as a QB, these guys seem to struggle a little bit. I'm not quite sure what it is. They maybe don't have that rookie energy coming into the league where no one can touch them. And they seem to just fall off a touch. And it happens to the best of the best. So I'll be interested to see how Jaden does get on this year. I'm not by any means saying he's going to struggle. I just don't think he'll match what he did last year. When it comes to the wideouts, if they lose McLaurin, Debo's going to have to step up, but he has injury concerns, and every single season he seems to be out for a period of games, which is a problem. The young guys there aren't that good. Jalen Lane
Mm.
could be okay, but the rest I don't think are strong. So it's very much a case with the Eagles where at wideout, you need your number one guy to be healthy and be in the game. Otherwise, you will probably struggle to push the ball down the field. That defense at Washington is nowhere near as good as the defense in Philly. And if there becomes a battle, I would never take the Washington team to win these games because the defense is not clutch.
No, that's the main thing I've got noted down. Is their defense? It should be better this year by adding a few guys. I mentioned Kinlaw and Von Miller coming over. Yes, older guys, in particular Von Miller, but still more than capable. Their defense has to be better though. That was a real bone of contention for them last year. Their offense was very good. Their line for the regular season wins is 9.5. Again, I thought 9.5 was lenient enough. I mean, any team that gets to play the Giants twice, there's two free wins.
Yeah, it should be. I would say they'll be around that mark. I think 10 wins will be. They'll be happy with that. They'll get into the playoffs. As I say, I'm not 100% sure what to expect from Washington this year. I think they'll be good, but I don't think they'll be challenging the Eagles. That's for certain.
Yeah, I'd agree in regards to that. I wouldn't be shocked if they're once again a playoff team, but whether they can go as far as they did last year, we'll see. It does revolve a lot around Jaden Daniels and him not regressing. But if he can stay healthy, and that's a big thing, which he wasn't for a large part of last year, but he managed to play through it a lot. If he is healthy, they've got a big chance. If he's not, suddenly what Marcus Mariota is your backup. Marcus can do a job, but nowhere near as well as Jaden Daniels. So they're interesting, the Commanders. I don't think they're on the same level as the Eagles, albeit the Eagles are defending Super Bowl champions. Let's move on to two of the more perplexing teams this year. The Cowboys, we've got the off-season Cowboys back again. They've got George Pickens. They've picked him up. They're shouting from the rooftops how they're going to win everything and how they're going to be great. But the other additions, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, there's your running back room. Yes, they picked up George Pickens. They managed to, I think they traded for Kaiir Elam from Buffalo. They re signed literally yesterday Jake Ferguson to a big contract as well. So they've got their tight end locked in. However, again, much like Washington, contract negotiations going on with Micah Parsons. And Micah is none too happy. He's a big part, Tom, of an already pretty poor defense.
Yeah, really poor defense, actually. They gave up the fourth most total yards per game last season. They were terrible through the air and not very good on the ground either. So they need Parsons. I mean, without Parsons, they're going to be terrible. With Parsons, they might just pass for average. So they need him to sign. The offense looks a lot better, doesn't it, with George Pickens? He's a very good receiver. CeeDee Lamb, excellent, elite receiver. So they have a lot of talent there. I actually think Jaden Blue might be the running back come week 9 or 10. I don't really like Javonte Williams much anymore after the injury. I thought before the injury he was very dynamic. After the injury he wasn't as explosive. And Miles Sanders, we know, just is incapable of holding a lead spot based on what we saw at Carolina and also towards the back end of his career in Philly. So, yeah, I think Jaden Blue might be the one for dynasty fantasy fans at running back. But this is very much a case of how about them Cowboys? Are they going to go 7-10 again?
Maybe less.
They won't be
Maybe
happy.
less.
They won't be happy.
Well, they're not, but they're trying to burn themselves down before the season's even started. Have you seen the Jerry Jones quotes about Micah Parsons?
I've seen quite a lot of quotes from that man, yeah.
So Jerry Jones came out and said, well, even if we do sign Micah Parsons, maybe he's not going to be here to play for us. And it's like, what are you talking about, Jerry? He goes, well, he was injured last year a lot, wasn't he? It's right. So what's your point?
He,
So
he
you've got the owner of the team dunking on his own guys
Mate, he
for
does it
being
every
hurt.
year. It's every year.
Honestly, I
Yeah.
just I don't get it. And then you go out and you give Jake Ferguson a big contract ahead of Micah Parsons. I don't get it at all. And Micah Parsons, he is ticked off as well. He's seen everything. JJ Watt tweeted about it, and Micah Parsons retweeted JJ Watt because of it, which is just hilarious. Also, they brought in Brian Schottenheimer as head coach. There could have been, you could have got rid of every head coach in the league from all teams and said you can't have those head coaches. And Brian Schottenheimer would not have got an interview from any of the other teams. He's been an awful offensive coordinator in many places, including Seattle, the team that I support. He wasn't even allowed to call plays here last year as the offensive coordinator. He wasn't trusted by Mike McCarthy to call plays. He's got a run-heavy style offense, which is weird because they brought in George Pickens and they didn't really bring in a big name running back. Their defense allowed the fifth most yards last season. Honestly, when they appointed Brian Schottenheimer, ahead of a lot of other appointments as well, they went out and they wanted Schottenheimer. I have no idea what they're doing in Dallas, Tom.
No, I completely agree. And I think we can kind of say similar things about the Giants too.
Yeah, I honestly, the Cowboys, the Giants, Brian Dable, you need to win games early on. And do you want to know the bad news for Brian Dable, Tom?
Go on.
His first four games are Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, and the Chargers.
Yeah. 0-4.
I mean, they play New Orleans in week 5, but I don't know if he'll be in charge in week 5.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle, isn't it, for the Giants this year? They've obviously added Russell Wilson, providing some veteran qualities at QB. To be fair, Russell's a really good thrower of the deep ball. And when you've got Malik Neighbors on your team, then that is a big positive. They could hook up for some huge plays, and the likes of Jalen Hyatt can also run down the field, and Russell will probably find him. The issue is that Russell, in my opinion, holds the ball way too long, and he scrambles in the search for always making big plays, and in doing so makes mistakes and takes a lot of sacks. And this Giants offensive line just isn't any good. The defense is okay, but again, that's being generous, and I just don't see them competing. Neighbors is a stud. Wilson is passable. The rest of this team, not for me.
No. Neighbors will be good this year because he's Malik Neighbors. But like I say, the additions to this team, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, and Darius Slayton got re-signed.
It's just not good enough, is it? It's not good enough.
No.
It's not like this team is going to ever compete with just making those moves. I quite like the fact that Jameis is on the team. Though we're going to see plenty of stuff on Twitter, I'm sure, with him on the sidelines. And maybe if Russell gets hurt, we'll get to see Winston back in the fray. But Winston is even more prone to throwing picks than Russell is, and that's saying something.
He's a very fantasy friendly quarterback, as Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Obviously, they did draft Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterby. I saw a video of Cam Scatterby the other day where someone was going, "Oh my god, he's so fast!" Like he's not slow for sure, but he got ran down by two DBs like very comfortably. So I
Yeah.
think Cam Scatterby will take over at some point, but
Yeah.
let's not go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Tyron Tracy's a good running back. He showed last year that he's capable, but Cam will definitely take over at some point. He was great in college. People were kind of comparing him to Christian McCaffrey. He's not that good at this stage anyway, but he is a good running back, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of workload he gets at the Giants, especially considering the Giants are likely to be behind in quite a lot of games early on, and therefore the running backs don't get as many touches as expected. So maybe we won't see as much of Cam as we're hoping for, but he's a good player.
Yeah, 5.5 is the over under for wins this year. I take the under honestly. The only other four teams that also have 5.5, Tom: New Orleans, Cleveland, the Jets, and the Titans.
Yeah, it's not a great group to be bunched into. I would say probably the under, though it will be around 5.5 if Neighbours stays healthy and Wilson stays healthy. If either one of those goes down, then I can't see them winning one game, let alone six.
Yeah, it's going to be real ugly stuff. I think in New York in general, maybe this year, but in particular on the blue side. Let's switch tack and go towards the NFC South, where we're looking towards a more interesting division. This is a division, Tom, that's gone down to the final game the last 2 years now.
Yeah, it's a really good division, a competitive division. The weird thing is actually when I say good, I don't mean good in terms of quality. I mean good in terms of entertainment. There are some okay teams in here, but equally there are some teams that have a lot of questions to answer. It's been all about Tampa really over the last few years, whether they're going to perform with Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield last season kind of took off, and yeah, I think the Bucks will be the team to beat in this division again. But you don't sleep on the Falcons, you know.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. The Falcons I put up as one of my selections. I think over 8.5 wins on the year in one of our earlier podcasts. But the Buccaneers, we'll start with them, reigning champions in the division. They picked Emeka Ibuka in the draft with pick 19, I think it was overall. Plenty, including myself, were confused when they did that because obviously you've got Chris Godwin, you've got Mike Evans, and Jalen McMillan broke out at the back end of last year. Chris Godwin's on the pup. I know last year they said Chris Godwin, if we make the playoffs, Chris Godwin will be back and he can make a run in that. I mean, we're now 6-7 months after and he's still rehabbing his ankle injury and it still doesn't look great. There's a lot of swelling in there from what we've seen at camp and him turning up. I'm worried about Chris Godwin.
I'm worried about Chris Gordon as well, whoever that is. Look, I actually really love the drafting of Ibuka. I think he was really good at Ohio State. He's a not a veteran. I suppose he kind of is a veteran from a college perspective, but he has played a lot of football, so he's not just going to be a complete raw piece that they're trying to chuck into the mix. And equally, Chris Godwin, as you say, injury prone and is still injured. Mike Evans, old now, veteran. I mean, he's super consistent, and I'm going to talk about him towards the back end of this podcast when we come to a bet. There's a bit of a spoiler alert there, but there is some age going on there in the wide receiver room, especially with their proven players. Jalen McMillan looked good, but it's only a very small sample size. And let's say, for example, they lose Mike Evans soon to either a trade or free agency or retirement, and Godwin cannot continue to be healthy. They need two wide receivers to fill the void, and they've got McMillan potentially, but they need a big outside body kind of guy, and Egbuka is that. So I do like the draft there of Egbuka. And crucially for Baker Mayfield, he needs guys to throw to because he is a great decision maker. Baker, that is his one pro. He seems to fit the ball in every single gap, whether it be tiny or big. And last year he had a phenomenal season. If Baker can do it again, McMillan takes a step forward. Egbuka proves to be a player who can perform in his rookie year, and either Evans or Godwin can remain healthy. This team is going to score a lot of points. They were third most in passing yards last season, third most in total yards last season. The offense is electric, and we haven't even mentioned Bucky Irving.
No, not at all. I also put a Baker Mayfield in one of the earlier podcasts. I think over 3,800.5 yards for the season, which I still like. I think he's going to have to throw the ball a heck of a lot. They did bring back in, obviously, Chris Godwin and also Levante David. They also picked up Hassan Reddick, which is a help. Their OC's gone. Liam Cohen's gone to Jacksonville. So, again, things are changing once more in Tampa, but they're used to that. They were 10-7 last year. I kind of think they're going to be around the same this year.
Yeah, I do too. Maybe they'll hit 11, but maybe they could also end with 9. I think that's very much the ballpark for Tampa, and it'll be interesting to see if the Falcons can push them.
Yeah, let's look at the Falcons. They signed Leonard Floyd and Jake Matthews, the latter to help out their O-line. Re-signed Mike Hughes to a nice contract. Michael Penix obviously is a bit of a change. At the moment, they still have Kirk Cousins. He might be backup in Atlanta, but he won't be any more than that, and he might not even be on this team. There are rumors, Tom, that Cleveland are still looking at signing Kirk Cousins, and they've got a million quarterbacks on their roster.
Yeah, I don't think Kirk will be happy going there. Well, no one is generally. But there were also rumours that Kirk was potentially going to go to the Jets when Justin Fields went down with an injury earlier this week. Obviously, that injury didn't prove to be as vital as it could have been. So I think those rumours have been quashed a little bit. But yeah, Kirk is definitely a trade candidate for all teams. A veteran QB who can still do it as a starter and is currently the backup in Atlanta. Saying that, Michael Penix Jr. is interesting this year. It'd be fascinating to see whether he can kind of reproduce the pocket passing skills that we saw at college. He looks really good in the minimal games that we've seen in the NFL, and he has plenty of targets. Loads of people love Drake London from a fantasy perspective this season. I'm not dead against it by any means, but you have got Darnell Mooney there, who does take a fair bit of the share out of it. Kyle Pitts, is he finally going to have a good season? What is going on with Kyle Pitts? He's got the perfect physique and the route running to actually be good, but he just never is good. And then you've got Bijan Robinson, who's going to do Bijan kind of things. The defense is okay without being extraordinary. The one negative I have for Atlanta, you've got a young QB, you've got a guy who's still learning the ropes, probably still learning the playbook, etc. First 4 games this season for Atlanta, they go Tampa, away on the road at Minnesota. Then they've got Carolina, who could be improving, and we'll get to them in a second. And then they've got Washington. That is not an easy start. If they go 0-4, 1-3, then there's already pressure on Penix, and it'll be fascinating to see whether he can pull through that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Their defense I do worry about a lot, but it's going to be this division is going to be brilliant for fantasy football because you've got the Panthers who have a defense that sucks. You've got the Saints, just get rid of the Saints; they're irrelevant this year. The Falcons, they've got a defense that suck, and the Buccaneers, it's not much better, honestly. But all the offenses are good, so it should lead to points. Drake London. Back end of last year when Penix took over, Penix played 3 games or started 3 games. Drake London went over 100 yards twice in those 3, and he had a 40% target share,
Yeah.
which is just ridiculous. I'm less worried about Darnell Mooney, just because I think Mooney, he's a very good wide receiver. I do like Mooney, but I thought he was more of a Cousins guy. I think Kirk Cousins really liked throwing to him, but this defense are just not good enough to keep them in games. they will win games for sure, but they won't be as good as they should be. Last year, they allowed the 10th most yards defensively, which it's not great, but at the end of the day as well, you can improve upon it. They allowed the second most passing touchdowns on them with 34. They were only one off top spot in that, and they were the sixth most penalised defense. So defense is definitely where this team falls down.
Yeah, for sure. And it's very much the case with plenty of these teams in this division, including the Saints, who are probably no better and maybe actually be worse.
Well, the Saints just suck on all angles. Like there's no good part of being the Saints this year. They were 5-12 last year. Don't worry, guys. You've added Cam Akers and you've added Brandon Cooks. You've added Justin Reed, which actually does help. Tyrann Mathieu, it has retired. He's not around anymore. Kellen Moore's taken over as head coach. Honestly, just wait, Kellen Moore. You've been a good OC in a few places. You've been Dallas, you've been the Chargers, and you've been to Philadelphia. You're going to get a better offer. Why take New Orleans? This team are ripe just to burn down to the ground and start all over again. They re-signed Juwan Johnson and Chase Young. Tyler Shuck is probably going to be starter from day one.
Yeah.
Defense, they couldn't stop any running back at all last year. I don't see any upside with the Saints this year, Tom.
Me neither. Not even from a fantasy perspective, actually. If you're in a 2 QB or Superflex fantasy league and you need a second quarterback or a third quarterback for the bench, Tyler Shuck, put him in. He's a rookie. Maybe he can have some success long term, but it's unlikely this year he's going to be thriving. Spencer Rattler's the backup there. He looked okay last year at very best. He made a lot of mistakes. The running back room, Alvin Kamara is old now. I don't feel like he puts in maximum effort either, which may be a little bit harsh, but equally, it seems like he kind of dawdles in games at times, especially when they're losing. The backup is Kendre Miller, who just cannot get on the field for a sustained period of time. The wide receiver room, you've got Chris Olave, who's had about 45 concussions, and hopefully he has a safe season where he doesn't pick up another injury. Brandon Cooks is 30-odd years old, and he's not getting any younger. The rest of the wide receivers, they aren't that good. Where are the points coming from on this offense? You're looking at maybe a tight end position, but even Taysom Hill, who last year was kind of the guy who would pull him out of situations, well, he suffered a gruesome injury. He's still rehabbing from that. So they've lost their special piece. And the other pieces on this offense, to me, just aren't good enough to score points. So I really struggle to see where the wins are coming from here. And I think you said the line was 5.5. I'm taking the under on that all day. If I was to bet on that market, that isn't my bet for this podcast, but I don't see them racking up 6 wins. No way.
I did see they were about 11-2 to have the worst record in the league.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. There was a guy we play in a Superflex league together, Tom. And there was a guy, I can't remember who it was, but he traded for Alvin Kamara. And I think he gave up a first and a fifth.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who's paying a fifth for Kamara? Sorry, a first, sorry.
First. I mean, a fifth would have been fair.
That was a Freudian slip, but it still works.
Yeah, it's not the year that you want Kamara on side. Kamara 3 years ago or 4 years ago when the Saints were actually pretty good on offense. Brilliant. But nowadays, no thank you.
And he's not even got Derek Carr just to check everything down to him and give him 20 targets a week. Saints fans, I'm really sorry, but this year's going to be real ugly for you. Pick another team as your second team and just sort of root for them a little bit. But yeah, it's not going to be a fun year for you guys. I wish you all the very best in the future. I said the same about the Panthers last year, though. And to be fair, the Panthers started off the year awfully. They looked terrible. They benched Bryce Young. Andy Dalton came in and looked okay to start with. And then Bryce Young came back and holy hell, what was Bryce Young doing? He suddenly turned into a serviceable quarterback in the NFL. They've re-signed J.C. Horn to a big contract. Tommy Tremble's back in as well as tight end. They signed Rico Dowdle as a bit of backup to Chuba Hubbard. Patrick Jones and Hunter Renfrow are in town as well. They drafted Tetero McMillan. I like what the Panthers are doing. Again, I mentioned fantasy football pieces. I think the Panthers are a team that if you're late in the draft, you go, we'll try Xavier Legette or even Adam Thielen, potentially, at an age of 54. I think he could possibly still be serviceable. The Panthers, this is the team, Tom, that will be a lot of people's second team this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they go. They've got a very young offense, haven't they? You've chucked out Legette and Thielen there. I'm going to give you Jalen Coker as a wide receiver to put into dynasty leagues on the bench, not as a starter, but I think he'll have a good year. McMillan is obviously the guy they're hoping will explode. They have drafted a fair few wide receivers in the past without success. Kelvin Benjamin, I think, was the most obvious one. So McMillan, I expect to be a lot better than him, but they do want him to perform. Bryce Young last year looked really good. Chuba Hubbard last year really kind of took this team forward. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on. Look, I don't expect them to challenge with the Bucks and the Falcons, but I think they're going to be better than the Saints.
I mean, if they're not, then they're in big trouble. Again, their big factor is their defense is horrible. All of it is horrible, except for JC Horn. But when he's healthy, great. Their defense is just terrible. Teams could run all over them last year. I think even in the last week they beat the Falcons, but they still conceded like 38 points.
Yeah.
They were just absolutely horrible. The defense allowed the most yards last season, full stopped, and they were the worst ranked run defense as well. Um, I can see guys still being able to run all over them. Yes, the offense took a big step forward. They finished 5-12. However, the bright spark is finishing 5-12 is not great for sure, but they were 2-1 in the last three games. They beat Atlanta and Arizona, two decent teams. So it does give hope coming into this year. They've just really got to sort that defense out.
People thought last year they might go 0-17. So 5-12
Yes.
is actually pretty strong, considering the expectations. Yeah, if they sort that defense out, I reckon they'll be vying for maybe seven wins or so in the early part of the season, going into the last couple of games, and maybe they can rack up eight and end the year on a good note. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the development of Carolina. They are improving, that's for certain.
Yeah, absolutely so. I think they're going to be quietly okay. Let's get into selections. Before we do that, reminder, comment down below. If you give us a prediction in the comments, you'll be entered into the next Listener League draw. We've got two more spots remaining for NFL Fantasy Football for the Turf and Touchdowns Listener League. Leave a like, subscribe, do all the things you would normally do on a podcast that you would like. If you didn't like it, just go away. You're probably not here by now anyway. You're fine on that. But Tom, which player are you going to put a bit of hate on?
This is an interesting one. You did a really good tweet, by the way. If you don't follow Turf and Touchdowns on Twitter, go and do that. Luke did a good tweet with all of our anti-post selections so far. And I had a look, and I was kind of just being pro everything. I did put unders on the Raiders' victories this year, but I was being pro everything. So I thought, let me take an under. I quite like having a mixture when you talk about anti-post plays. This is a bold prediction, and it will be bold for plenty. The price won't tell you that because it is literally an under-over, a 50-50, and both odds are 10 to 11. So the price won't dictate, but the statistics will say it's a bold play. Mike Evans, every single season in the NFL, has gone over 1,000 yards. It is a well-known fact. We saw last year in the final week, the Bucks were doing everything they could to get him back over 1,000. It was basically a game plan to get Evans to hit that target yet again. This year he goes under, and I'm taking under 950.5 yards receiving this season. Numerous reasons behind that, which we've already talked about. One, he's a veteran now. He's getting older. His body can't do some things that he used to. Now, he is still a very good receiver. I'm not putting that much hate on him, but there is a big room there at the wide receiver room. You've got Chris Godwin. He's taking share. Jalen McMillan, Egbuka. These guys are going to be taking some of his workload away from him. Cade Otton, good tight end with good hands. I mean, his workload isn't going to be as much as it has been in previous years. Two, he does stay healthy. And if you look through his whole NFL season, he barely misses a game or two. You know, he's always on the field, even if he's carrying an injury. But there's got to be a point where this guy suffers an injury and misses a few games. And I'm not wishing it on him by any means, but I just feel it's more likely now to happen. And if he does miss a couple of games, then Mike Evans is going to struggle to get up to what he has in recent years. And for all that I love Baker Mayfield, and this team always seems to produce lots of points in every game they play, at some point Mike Evans' production's got to decrease. And I'm hoping it's this year. So Mike, if you're watching this, which you're probably not, when I say probably, I mean 99.99% not. If you could get 949 yards, that would be great because I'm taking under 950.5.
You can allow 950.
That's a bit too close for me.
Did you see David Montgomery last year?
I did, yeah.
There was a point where he was thought to be out for the whole season, and I think his rushing line was like 975 and a half,
Yeah.
and I think he was on like 975 when he got hurt. He
Brutal.
did come back, but yeah, it was horrific for bettors.
Yeah.
I like your Mike Evans pick. I think that's my favourite pick that you've put forward so far this year. I mean, they manufacture him getting to 1,000 in like
Exactly.
3 of the seasons. Last year, I mean, he was 920-ish or so going into the final week, and literally it was the final game of the final play of the game of the season, or regular season, where he managed to get over 1,000. But yeah, I think it might be the year it runs out.
One last thing on that, the line 950.5 is with the most well-known bookmaker. If you're in the UK, you'll know who I'm talking about. There are other lines available on Mike Evans with different firms. One bookmaker is going under 975.5 at similar odds. Obviously, that would be a better bet. But for the purposes of this video, I'll do the obvious bookmaker, as most people would bet with them. There is also another line which is under 925.5. So I'm going to take, for the purposes of this, under 950.5, but I will probably play at the higher line and therefore give myself a little bit more leeway.
Yeah, I'm going to go more complicated because there's a bet in the NFC East that I just love. I don't see how it doesn't land, and it's 15-4. So it's a nice price. But the exact finishing order of the NFC East: Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. Don't overcomplicate it. The Giants are going to suck. The Cowboys are going to suck, not quite as bad as the Giants. The Commanders will be good, and the Eagles will be the Eagles again. I don't see how, outside of injuries, but you can't factor that in, as I always say. Outside of that, I don't see how you can not have that order. I don't think the Commanders will take that much of a big step forward. Again, they'll be a good team. The Cowboys won't be a great team this year. 7 wins, maybe. I think they're in and around that. And the Giants might even struggle to win a game. I think 15-4, Tom. I mean, talk me out of it, but you can't.
No, I like it. I do like it. Yeah, I don't see, aside from injuries, major injuries happening to a certain team, I don't see how that order changes. Unless the Commanders are exceptional this year. And there is a possibility, I suppose, they could take that step forward. But yeah, I am pretty confident with your pick as well. The one negative there is, of course, that if you're doing one of those graphics again, one of those images of all of our selections, you're going to struggle to get that on.
Yeah, that would just be lower font, smaller font. But that is a look at the NFL, NFC East, the NFC South as well. We've got the NFC West and the NFC North to go, which features myself and Tom's teams. I've got the Seattle Seahawks, Tom, the Green Bay Packers. I'm sure we'll be nice about each other's teams.
Yeah, certain about that. Are we going to film this next week or maybe in 2 weeks' time? One of the two.
Depends on we can be bothered, honestly.
Yeah, I
Depends.
guess. Yeah.
Depends. We also have a horse racing video on our podcast right now as well, with the Whitney Stakes. Go check that out. Hopefully, a winner, maybe even a 1-2 in that podcast. But we continue our walk towards the NFL season. As I say, leave a comment down below with your prediction. That will get you into the ballot for the NFL Listener League, where we've only got 2 more places remaining. If you like this podcast, please do subscribe. Come and be part of the Turf and Touchdowns family. We would love to have you here. But until we next get to speak to you guys, stay safe. Look after one another. Goodbye.